Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper.
I Alos Diaz.
My camping companion. Alos, what are we going to talk about today?
Colors.
Show me the coolers. The Coleman Company began selling portable ice chests in 1954, and the steel clad ice chest soon became an essential item in every family's camping kit. I bought my first Coleman cooler around 1967, and over the last 50 years have bought dozens more. I soon realized that the 50-quart size was the best size for family camping because it was large enough to pack perishable foods for about a week, but yet small enough to carry by one person and to pack in most cars. I also realized that I needed a cooler with a drain plug so that I could easily drain water after the ice melted. But I did not need a cooler with wheels or handles because my cooler typically stayed in the back of my car during the entire camping trip. The wheels and handle would just add extra weight and require extra packing space. We typically pack our cooler the night before a trip and then depart from our house about 5 o'clock the next morning. Around noon, we will stop at a rest area, take out our chairs and folding table, and make a little picnic lunch. If we're staying in a campsite for several days, we'll set up a kitchen canopy and then back our car right up to the canopy. We leave our cooler and other food in the car at all times to prevent animal scavenger problems. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the better coolers that are available on the market today. Our current cooler is a Coleman 52-quart Extreme cooler that we bought about 2 years ago. This Extreme cooler weighs only 9 pounds and currently costs about $50. It does not come with a basket or tray, but notice that it has a very nice ledge that will hold a basket, and you can order a basket from Igloo that fits perfectly for about $20. The Igloo Max Cold 50 quart is another good quality traditional cooler. It weighs 11 pounds and costs about $61. The other good quality coolers are called roto-molded coolers, and they typically cost between $300 and $400. Engel developed the first high-performance roto-molded cooler in 2005 and continues to make these coolers today. In 2006, Yeti began making these coolers and now is the best known name in high-performance roto-molded coolers. If you're considering a Yeti cooler, you should understand that its model number does not correspond with its capacity. So, for example, the Yeti Tundra 45 only has a capacity of 37 quarts. So a comparable cooler would be the Yeti Tundra 65, which I'm holding, that has a capacity of 52 quarts. It cost $350. Since 2005, about a dozen different companies have begun making these roto-molded coolers. These companies include Pelican, Arctic, Orca, Grizzly, Orion, Canyon, Cabela's, and Ozark Trail. If you turn to the internet to help you decide which cooler is best suited for your needs, be careful, because most discussions make questionable assumptions and use unscientific procedures. For example, most sources consider the very expensive Yeti to be the standard by which other coolers should be measured, when I believe that the more economically priced Coleman and igloo coolers should be considered to be the standard by which other coolers are measured. A second limitation of these discussions is that they measure the length of time until all of the ice has melted and assume that coolers that can hold ice for 7 or 8 days are better than coolers that cannot hold ice that long. But I suggest that the real measure of a cooler should be how long it can keep a week's worth of food safely cool. Furthermore, I ask, what difference does it make if a cooler can hold ice for 7 or 8 days when most of your camping trips are less than 4 days long? Regarding the discussions about the durability of the cooler, I ask, what difference does it make whether a cooler will withstand bear attacks when most people do not camp in bear country? And because campers should always keep their food locked inside their car. Another limitation of these discussions is that they frequently compare coolers with different capacities and different features. In other words, the article could compare a cooler with 35 quart capacity with another cooler that had a 60 quart capacity. And the demonstrations frequently use different amounts of ice to fill each cooler. Another limitation of these studies is that they commonly only put a few cans or bottles of beer in the cooler, when they should be packing all the food that a family might need for about a week's trip. And finally, these articles do not discuss how to organize the cooler so that you can easily find what you're looking for without keeping the top open for long periods of time, and so that your food stays dry after the ice melts. So I contend that more practical features of coolers should be considered when making a purchase decision. For example, the cost of the cooler should be one of the first factors to consider. You can buy a lot of ice for the $300 difference between the Coleman or Igloo coolers and the most expensive coolers. The weight of the cooler is also important. Remember that this Coleman Extreme only weighs about 10 pounds, while roto-molded coolers typically weigh around 30 to 35 pounds. Although your cooler should stay in the back of your car most of the time, you still have to carry it from your house out to the car before you leave on a trip, and you have to bring it from your car back into your house at the end of the trip. I'm not sure that one person could carry a rotor-molded cooler that's filled with ice and food. A third important factor to consider is the amount of packing space required for a particular cooler. The Coleman Extreme, shown on the left, is 17 inches high, 27 inches wide, and 15 inches deep, which requires about 4¼ square feet of packing space. And I'm not sure I could fit a larger cooler into my car. The Yeti Tundra 65, on the other hand, is much larger and requires much more packing space. And a final consideration is, how long will a 20-pound bag of ice keep your food safely cool? After considering the limitations of these other discussions, I decided to show you how I think a cooler should be tested. I'll be packing the food that we typically take on a camping trip into our Coleman Extreme 52-quart cooler and filling it with 20 pounds of ice. And I'll be looking at how long I have at least 1 cup of ice to cover the food in my basket, plus some more ice in the cooler. In addition, I'll be looking at the inside temperature of the cooler to see how close it stays recommended 40-degree temperature. First of all, I packed several drinks on the drain end of the cooler. Then I packed my condiments in a plastic container in the center of the cooler, and then I have milk and pancake syrup at the other end. I covered this with about 7 pounds of ice. Next, I put our meat, eggs, jelly, and sour cream in a basket. And I put my butter and cheese in a green plastic seal container. Then I covered everything with the remaining 13 pounds of ice and the plastic ice bag. A thermometer sensor was placed in the food storage tray just under the ice bag. The cooler was packed without being pre-chilled in our 74-degree kitchen, moved it out to the garage, and covered it with a small blanket. Then I checked it every day at 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. Each time I made a note of the temperature, removed some food, and rearranged the ice. This is how it looked 1.5 days later when I went to get an egg and some juice. After that first warm day, daytime highs climbed to about 65 degrees and nighttime lows dropped to about 55 degrees. But the inside temperature remained very close to 40 throughout the 4-day period. Here it is after 4 days. There's quite a bit of water, but as you can see, there's still plenty of ice to last for another 8 to 10 hours. If Ava and I were camping another day or two, we'd need to buy some ice tomorrow and drain a little bit of that water. In conclusion, I see no reason to buy a more expensive ice chest. My little $50 Coleman Extreme chest is reasonably priced, is small enough to pack into my car relatively easily, is lightweight so that I can easily carry it when it's packed full of ice and food, and it keeps my food cold for over 4 days. Since I only take 1 or 2 camping trips that are more than 4 days long, I see no reason to spend $300 to $350 on a new cooler.
Well, I hope this video gives you some useful information that will help you the next time you need to buy a new camp cooler.
For more information about the best ice coolers on the market today, please visit my website, www.basictentcamping.com. A link to my website is provided in the description below.
Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money.
Go tent camping.